Craft story, craft story, craft story, tell me about your life.
Hello everybody and a very warm welcome to Craft Story Part 2, and well, thank you so much everybody for all the love that you showed for the first episode that we did just a little while back with Debbie Robinson. And this show is just all about finding out about the guys that work here, a little bit more about them, because I know they kind of chat about themselves and we all kind of let you into our lives a little bit in the live shows, but I think it's something that you guys are so interested in, like, you know, how did our guys get to be where they are today? You know, what were they doing when they were younger? What jobs did they have before? And that's exactly the kind of thing that we will be chatting about again today on this show, where I'm delighted to say, and a lot of you asked for this person to be on this feature, I'm delighted to say I'm joined by the one and only Craig Laird on Craft Story.
Craft story, craft story, craft story, tell me about your life.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you very much. How are you?
I'm really well, actually. I really enjoy doing this because I like to think I know you really well. And like, you know, I obviously know Debbie Robinson very well because I've worked with you guys for years. But kind of when I sat down and chatted to Debbie, I found out loads of stuff out about her that I didn't know.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel the same is going to be with you, because how long have we known each other now? Probably 5, 6 years?
Yeah, about 6 years, 6 and a bit years.
Yeah.
6 and a bit years.
Yeah, and we found out that we're very similar people. We've got very sort of similar interests. And obviously, I chatted to you a lot about, you know, craft and how you got into it and all that kind of stuff. But I'm excited to kind of learn a little bit more about you, and we'll get on to like how you got into craft a little bit earlier on. But early life, I'm interested to learn like what you were like as a kid growing up, because you're from Carnoustie originally, are you? Or were you born elsewhere?
Yeah, no. So from Carnoustie originally, that's where my hometown is. But yeah, always lived in Carnoustie. Never planned to ever leave Carnoustie. Never planned to relocate, or you know, my whole life was. I like my hometown. I like my hometown.
And what is in, like, if you just stay, what is in Carnoustie? Is it like a big town? Is it a small town? What's there? I mean, if you just stayed there, what might you have ended up doing, for example?
So I probably wouldn't end up doing what the town's famous for, and that's golf.
Golf?
So, golf, it's a famous golf town. So we tend to get, I don't know, it's every 8 years or whatever it is, the Open. So Carnoustie gets it, Gleneagles get it, St Andrews get it, as well as other places. But within Scotland, we're one of the golf towns. So I'm not sporty whatsoever. I've never played golf.
Have you never picked up a golf club?
Oh, I've picked up a golf club, and I've done a little bit of putting, you know, that sort of stuff. But the closest thing to golf, other than putting, is walking over the golf course with the dog. It's great for a walk.
I love that. So you're from a place where golf is famous, but you don't play.
Nope.
So you grew up there as a kid. Obviously, you went to primary school there.
I did.
What were you like as a little one?
So I was well behaved, but the reason being is because I wasn't well for a lot of the time. So if I wasn't in school, I was at home unwell. And then if I was at home, I was never well enough to go out hanging about with my friends and stuff like that. So I was never one, up until the point of where I got unwell, I was never one that was a troublemaker. I could be a little, my gran used to call me a toe rag. I used to be a toe rag.
That is such a great... I used to get called a toe rag now and again. I think that's a bit of a northern thing, that, isn't it?
Must be.
Toe rag.
Must
but anyway,
be.
you were a toe rag, yeah?
So I was a toe rag, yeah. So a lot of my time, if I wasn't in school, then I was at home, unfortunately, unwell at times. So no, I was well behaved. I was well behaved.
Just a little bit cheeky.
Yeah. And then when me and my brother got together, we'd been watching the wrestling, and you know, Mum, why is the couch broken? Don't know.
Body
slamming each other onto the couch and everything like that. So yes, that was probably the only thing that I kind of done that would get into trouble.
So you got one brother, yeah?
I've got one brother, older brother.
Did you get on quite well as kids?
We get on. We're not close.
No.
Yeah, no, we're not close. We are so chalk and cheese. He's sporty. I'm not. He's into music. I'm into my films. I'm creative. He's not. I like DIY. He doesn't. He travels. I don't. We're just so... I would do anything for him.
Yeah.
But we are so chalk and cheese. So I'm like my mum, thankfully. He's like my dad. So we're just so chalk and cheese.
But you still see him now, right?
When I go home.
When you go home? Is he still in Carnoustie?
He's still in Carnoustie, yeah. He had travelled. He'd travelled about. He's an accountant, and he'd done an accountancy. I was always really jealous because he had an office a couple of years ago in London that looked over the O2. And so when people were coming back, stars and that, the wrestlers were going in, getting set up, he'd see them going in. And then he got a bit restless, and then he started to travel. He taught kids in, I think it was like China or that sort of area. And then unfortunately it was just one of those things. He got a little bit restless again, so he came home, then bang, COVID hit. And he's still back home now. So I occasionally see him. When I go home, ships it passing the night with the two of us. So yeah, do have an older brother, but yeah, we're not close.
Okay, I know you touched on your illness, and it's something I'm going to talk to Craig about. Before the show, I said to him, "You're happy to talk about everything." He said he's happy to talk about everything I asked him.
You know I'm an open book.
I know that. It's not like a surprise. We'll come on to that in just a second. But you said you obviously grew up in Carnoustie, you went to school there. What did you want to be as a kid? Like when you were at primary and went to secondary school, was there something that you thought you wanted to be later on in life? I mean, did you have like an aptitude for, you always said you were creative, did you have an aptitude for like arts and crafts when you were younger? So
other than, start with wanting to be a WWE referee, once you get...
I thought you were saying wrestler then for a second.
No. And I always knew that I would never be a big build for a WWE wrestler.
Yeah.
Just like a lot of kids, early days, they would want to be a footballer or something like that. I want to be a WWE referee. And then once I got past that stage of, follow your dreams, always follow your dreams. But when I got to that point, I thought, it's probably not going to happen. Again, it comes back, a lot of things that you'll find out comes back to my health. It kind of put a stop on a lot of things. What I always wanted to do, and I thought I would do, and I did actually go to start, and that was to be a chef.
Okay.
Wanted to be a chef. Wanted to be a chef. I love cooking, absolutely love cooking. And this, I did leave school. I went to college, got accepted into college. I'd done the induction of college. And then within a couple of weeks later, that's when the world blew up of Gordon Ramsay. And when you really started to see what it would be like in kitchens. Because no one back then, this is 20 or 25 years ago, no one really knew what it was like in the actual working of a professional kitchen. So no one knew how tough it was. And then obviously as Gordon Ramsay started to grow, and then you got more of that insight as to what it's really like into a professional kitchen, I was like, no, thank you.
So Gordon Ramsay put you off your cookery
Gordon
career?
Ramsay put me off, yes.
Wow.
Still a massive fan of Gordon Ramsay, but he actually put me off, following on with cooking.
So in a way, we've got Gordon Ramsay to thank for the fact that we've got Craig here on Crafters TV. Let's talk about your illness, because you've mentioned that a couple of times. And one thing that I actually don't know, I obviously know you suffer from Crohn's.
Yeah.
So you talk about it like it is that something that you've always had, or is it something that you got as a child that happened when you were younger?
So it's one of those that I've had it most of my life. I've not had it all my life. I was diagnosed maybe around, this is even all these years later, I always have to get my mum to remind, mums remember everything, everything. So I was diagnosed, I'm going to say I was diagnosed around about 11. However, they do think that I had it since I was maybe like 8 or 9, because Crohn's disease was so unknown back then. And if it was really, really elderly people, that was it. So I was essentially diagnosed with probably like anything and everything before it actually got to the point of realising it was Crohn's disease, because it was just so unknown. No one knew. No one knows how people get it. We don't know how, you don't know. So
there's no one else in your family that you know that's ever had it?
No one in my family's had it. No one in my family's had anything along those same lines. I was fine one day. We went away on holiday. We went to Tenerife. Who knows? It could be something to do with abroad. We never know. We came back after a couple of weeks, and I was, as we tend to call it, Spanish tummy.
That's
what we thought it was. And then after a few weeks and then a few months, it wasn't going. It was still had it. And then that was the snowball of, right, there's something not right here. And then, like I say, it took, it was in the end, it took a couple of years to actually be diagnosed with Crohn's when I was around about 11. But I'd had it from probably say about 8 years old, 8, 9.
And so you've already chatted about the fact you had a lot of time sort of in and out of school with illness and that. So was it something that you kind of, what's the word? Was it something that you kind of sort of were able to treat initially and then you had to have like operations later down the line?
Yeah, so again, because it was so early on, there wasn't a lot of medication at that time. You know, it was just trying to find what there was out there. And, you know, it was working to an extent. It was keeping, because it's inflammation of the bowels. So, you know, you can kind of gather from when I said Spanish tummy, dicky tummy, you kind of get the idea, if you're not familiar with Crohn's disease, as to what you know, what it could involve, so to speak. And then obviously because I wasn't eating, you lose your appetite. You know, I'm thin-billed anyway. I take after my mum, who's slim. So it was just one of those things, just trying to find the right medication at the time. But modern medicine, even back then to nowadays, it evolved so quickly that hopefully, I know I'll always be on medication for life, but the longer I'm on one medication, it gives more time for more future medication then to evolve. So yeah, always been on medication to keep me right before it got, and again, this is where mum's come in. I must be about 13 before I had to have my first major operation. Yeah. And then I've had quite a few in between of 13 and well now, yeah.
I know you're obviously really close to your mum, aren't you? And I've met your mum on a few occasions. She was, I guess, like unbelievable, like support when you were younger, and she still is now, isn't she?
Oh gosh, yeah. You know, my family were, my friends were as well. I was so lucky because, you know, it's in the world at the moment, it's horrible that you find so many people for so many reasons get bullied. I was never bullied. You know, I could have been one of those that could have been bullied for so many reasons. I wasn't such a close circle of friends. If there was anyone that looked as though they were going to start trouble, you had the friends that just jump in there and put a stop. So I was always lucky. I was always close with family and friends, but the top there was always mum, always mum there, yeah, no matter what. Even nowadays, now, if I just have routine checkup, here in England, it's a little bit different that once you've had your appointment, we get a rundown letter of it was good to see Craig in clinic today, he's looking well, blah, 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 blah. It's great, screenshot that and send that to mum. Yeah. So, and if she is down here, if I've got appointments, she'll still come with me.
Well, I know, because a few years back when you had like a bit of a setback with it when you were here, which I know a lot of our viewers will remember because Craig was off work for quite a while. Your mum came down, then spent a lot of time sort of helping you sort of convalesce, didn't she?
She did, yeah. At the back end when I got out of hospital, because when I was in hospital then, that was at the back end of all of the restrictions with COVID. Yeah. So you could get visitors in the hospital, but you could only get in for 1 hour at a time. And my auntie just lives in Newcastle, my auntie Pauline, and she was brilliant when I was in hospital in COVID, because as I was saying to mum, that as much as mum being mum wanted to come down, I was like, Mum, you know, technology is brilliant, FaceTime and messaging and all of that. I was like, Mum, it's daft to come down at the moment because you're not going to see me. Yeah. You're only going to get in for an hour a day, if that. If I did need anything, my auntie would come through. She would do my washing and that sort of stuff. And then when I got out of hospital, then yeah, Mum came down for a couple of weeks and helped where I needed help.
It's inspirational, really, and I've said this to him before, and I've said it on air. Like Craig never, for what you have to go through, he never makes a fuss about anything. And I sometimes feel bad, you know, like when you hear like what you've been through, what you have to cope with. You sometimes feel bad, like when you come into work,
never
and feel like
bad.
You know what I mean? You feel like, oh, if you've got like a little cold or something like that, and what you put up with and what you know live with, I think is incredible.
But there's even, you know, gosh, it really could be a like massive book as to, not that we'd ever read a book because I can't remember, or read a book. I can't read a book. I can't write a book.
Then for a second.
Can't read. Okay, I didn't go to school a lot, but I can still read. It's one of those things, I still, you know, as I always say, no matter what anyone's going through, there is still always someone in life worse off than me. Yeah. No matter what you're going through. So.
And the good thing is you've never let it stop you doing what you wanted to do.
No, if anything, it spurred me on. Yeah. It spurred me on, you know, because you do, and I can get away with saying that, and I know a lot of people, whatever illness or that, they can struggle with it sometimes. I know people with Crohn's or colitis, a lot of people can struggle, and they're like, that's it, it's when I say the end of my life, I don't literally mean the end of my life. I mean as though I can't do anything, I can't do my dreams. And, you know, and as we said, we're going to be completely honest, that sort of thing irks me because I think, you know, as unwell as you can be, when you get to a period where you feel good, you can still achieve what you want. Yes, it helps by the company, this place, big help in that. That was my main worry, and that was when I first joined here. I made it clear to Sarah and the team, I was like, look, if I do join, you know, I could go off sick instantly, but the last thing I can't have is the pressure and the stress of when you're coming back, which there weren't. I never had that pressure. So it's that case of it never will stop me. You just try. I always say, and I'm getting it deep here, I always say,
we'll have to have a second episode at this rate.
I don't know if I've got any more fight in me, but then when I do
you always
face another flare-up or that, I seem to have that fight. But that comes to family, that comes to friends, you guys, you know. I know next door in the gallery just now, we've got Johnny, we've got wee Jamie, and here, you know, you aren't colleagues, you're our friends. You guys spur me on. So it's a great big, puddle that just ripples out of the support that you get.
Aww, and I enjoy being in that puddle. We'll obviously get onto Crafters TV in just a second. Other jobs that you've done, so I know that you obviously worked in co-op for quite a while.
I did indeed.
What other things have you done? Like, what was your first job, for example?
So the co-op food retail, that was my main job. I did have a paper round for about 3 hours on a Sunday.
3 hours, right?
And that didn't last.
Right.
Because of, certainly with on a Sunday, you know, you have all of the supplements inside and that as
the
well.
broadsheets.
And I just couldn't take the weight on my bike and I kept falling off. And unlike some people, I didn't, as much as I obviously close with my mum and that, you know, and always had the support from all the families, like, if you do what you want to do and we'll support you. But it's like, you think we're driving around in the car at 5 o'clock on a Sunday morning behind you, you've got no chance. So yeah, that was my very first job that didn't last very long.
Yeah. Those papers were heavy though, weren't they? Back in the day. So paper round as a kid. So did you go straight from school, college into working at the co-op then, or did you have other jobs before that?
So essentially, I finished. I was at school. I had the induction of college, but then didn't actually do it. So it was a couple of months before I was 16.
Yeah.
And my local co-op that I started with, and then I moved about throughout different towns, still with the co-op, and then ended back as management in my hometown co-op, which I was really, really proud of. But before the co-op, it was a Tesco's.
All right.
And my cousin worked in there, my brother worked in there, so we knew the management team in that, so they knew who I was. So I'd applied for a job, and I was 16, or obviously 21st of June, my birthday. So I was 16 on the 21st of June. So I applied for the job and had an interview a couple of weeks before. Yeah. And I was given the job, but I couldn't start until I was 16. I was in on the 22nd of June, the day after my 16th birthday. I was being trained up. I signed my contract, and then within a couple of days, they upped the age, like they do most days nowadays, to 18. So if I hadn't signed my contract, then I wouldn't have. I think is it they call it serendipity, just the way that things just
had things like
work out and pan out and that. And I'd signed my contract, sent it away, they got it, then they upped the age. And if I hadn't have done that, then and I'm still friends with a lot of them now, and they say, God, you just think that back then they could have. Maybe they wouldn't do it so much nowadays, but back then they could be quite ruthless and be like, sorry, you've not signed your contract, we've changed the terms and conditions, the ages, we no longer need.
Did you enjoy it though?
I loved it.
Did you?
I absolutely loved it.
So if this hadn't come along, could you have imagined yourself still working in the co-op now?
Yes.
Absolutely,
you could? Yeah. And I always say as well, I don't look for this to end. I'm having an absolute blast in the craft industry at Crafters Companion. If it did, for whatever reason, I would not be ashamed to go back to food retail. I think it can get a little bit of a bad reputation at times. And we had a blast, we had so much fun. Those that work in any sort of retail, no, technically we're still retail, but when you're facing the public on a daily, what my friends would go through that were working through COVID in retail, do you know what I mean? Took my hat off to them all. I just had an absolute blast working away at manager. Unfortunately, I did have to step down because of my health. But again, I was never embarrassed because I stepped down from management to retail assistant again, but I stayed in the same shop and I didn't feel embarrassed. There was nothing like that. I just enjoyed where I was.
And you just mentioned then that you don't want this ever to end. So how did this start? Was it from watching Shopping TV that you got into this, didn't you?
It was, yeah. It was watching the Bibster on QVC UK.
Bibster.
Dawn Bibby, which is now about, well, is this, I think either this year is our 30th year.
Is it really?
That Dawn Bibby brought papercraft into QVC.
Wow.
Here in the UK. And I know she tells the story of the buyers at QVC at the time were like, no one would want that, no one would want that. And obviously she'd done a show, and then before you know it, so it's down to her. And again, serendipity. I was at home off school, unwell, and we just had an appointment a couple of weeks before, and obviously I was still a youngster at the time, and we were in the not the child's ward, but the child's clinic.
Yeah.
And they said, like, Craig, do you do anything to relax or chill or anything like that? And I was like, well, no, not really, not that I can really think of. She says, well, maybe look to find something, a hobby you can do at home, chill, relax. Okay, yeah, okay, whatever. And then it was about 2 weeks later, I was at home, it was a Tuesday, it was 2 o'clock when Bibby used to do our weekly shows, and I was channel surfing.
Yeah.
And I just seen this blonde lady making something, and I've always been into making and create, and I always loved that. I thought, oh, what's she making? And it was just at the end of the show. It was a 1 hour show at the time, and Dawn and the presenter said, right, tune in again next Tuesday for our 2 p.m. crafting show. So I tuned in the next Tuesday, and this is why I'm such a big fan and advocate for the adhesive company Sticks 2 that are just through in Newcastle.
Yeah.
Because my very 2 first crafting products I ever bought, Mum had to buy them because at the time I didn't have a card, a credit card or that, was a Forever Friends decoupage kit and a big adhesive, Sticks 2 adhesive bundle kit. That was the very first 2 things, and that was me.
That's incredible, isn't it? So Dawn Bibby, who you guys will know, I'm sure, and you will have met previously on this channel, kind of started you off and is a sort of a mentor for you now, really,
Absolutely,
isn't she?
Absolutely, yes. And just one of those that as we record this, we haven't spoken for a couple of weeks, but what we're, every now and again, I mean, last year I went through to see her, give her a helping hand, we'll drop messages. I know that she's always there. I worked with her, and at the time when she was with a company, Craft Buddy, I worked with them for a short period of time. I planned to be on with them for a wee while, and then I was going to go knocking at bigger doors, here, or maybe look at Hunky Dory, what have you. And before I knew it, I was only with Dawn and Craft Buddy maybe about 10 months. And then I got a message from this place, Fiona Clayton. Many of you might be familiar with Fiona, and said, hey Craig, just wondering, would you be looking to move on? We might have a position going, we could pass your details on. She's like, yeah, could do, that would be great. Passed the details on, said, Sarah's actually spotted you, she's had her eye on you.
So had you been doing TV at this point then?
So I'd been doing TV with Dawn and Craft Buddy for a very short period of time. For a very short period of time. But I thought I was only with them for about 10 months. I thought I was going to be with them a lot longer. But then obviously I went straight to Dawn and said, Dawn, I've been given this opportunity. And Dawn went, go for it.
Did she?
She says, you grab that opportunity. She says, you run with it. So although I was only with her for a short period of time, it's just the way that it happened, and yes, she's always had my back. So
was she? So you talk about the fact that you watched her. Was she the first person you went and worked for then when you got into craft?
So no. So the very first, I'd done a short period of time with Tonic and Jodie. I'd done some work for them. That was my very first time I'd done a little bit of TV for them. Previously to that, I'd been on Hunky Dory's design team for a long time.
That explains the love of Hunky Dory.
It explains the love. They were my very, very first design team position, and that's why I've got a big love for not only Hunky Dory, the guys for Hunky Dory, but Anne-Marie. Anne-Marie, out of everything, Anne-Marie's the one that gave me that first opportunity to be seen in the crafting magazines. They used to do their great British craft festivals, they used to do that. They used to then bring me and invite me. They paid for everything for me to be there and attend and take part. So Anne-Marie's always the one that I always say that gave me that first kind of introduction to the craft industry. And then, things changed. I still done design team work with them, but then I went and done a little short period of work for Tonic, took a little bit of a break. Then this is when I moved to Don and the guys at Craft Buddy, and then ended up here.
It must have been. Well, I mean, you've worked with some of like the biggest names in craft, haven't you? And then to get the call from Fiona and Sarah and the team here must have been like.
I was like, what?
Yeah, you like, couldn't quite believe it.
Shut up, no way.
So how long have you been here now?
5 years.
Yeah, 5 years.
Just had my 5th anniversary.
Yeah.
And then July this year, it'll be 5 years since I relocated down here.
It's incredible, really. And I obviously, met you a few years ago at Crate and Craft. We got on like a house on fire the first time we met. But you must feel like you've really kind of like developed as like a personality and as an on-air talent certainly over the last 5 years. Do you feel like doing it day in day out here on Crafters TV has really sort of turned you into the crafter and the person you are today?
The person, yes. Myself, Debbie Robinson, and Fisher, we still say the same. It's lovely when people say, "Oh my gosh, you're a name in the industry, and you're famous in the industry." We just don't see that whatsoever. We don't see that whatsoever. We just get to do something that we love. It can be long days, it can be busy days. There could be so much going on, but the fun that we have, the fun that we have, whether it's here, whether we're here at Hobbymaker as well now, love the guys down there as well. We'll have a blast. It's absolutely worth it. Absolutely worth it. And we don't see us. I've seen myself progress as a person and an individual, but as a name within the industry, I never see myself in that way.
And it's amazing, isn't it, that craft has afforded you like so many opportunities when you think of all of the places that obviously you've been on TV at, the fact that you've travelled because of craft, and of course now sort of almost come full circle because how much you love QVC. For you to having been presenting on QVC, that must have been almost like a bit of a dream come true, really.
Honestly, that is up there with the most incredible experience. That is, if this ended now, if it is all ended now, I could say made it to QVC.
Yeah.
And I don't do it often, and I don't mind that. I'm happy dipping in every now and again. I'm more than happy with that. Just to be associated with those 3 letters of what got me started.
Yeah.
QVC and Dawn got me started, and then we come full circle here.
Have you got anything else that, I mean, obviously know you're super happy here and we love the fact that you're here with us on Crafters TV. Is there anything yet that you haven't kind of achieved which you would like to achieve maybe in the next sort of 5 years or so?
Within the industry?
Or indeed like outside of it. Is there anything like an itch that you want to scratch that you haven't managed to do yet? Or are you quite content?
At the moment, I'm quite content. I've been given I've been given the opportunities. I've been on HSN and I still occasionally get to do HSN America, QVC UK, obviously I get to do Crafters TV, Hobbymaker as well. I was really lucky to be able to do bits with Debbie Fisher on QVC Germany as well. And it's one of those things that never say never about them happening again. You're here, there's nowhere else I would get that opportunity again within, you're like that with QVC Extra as well. Where else? What other company in the craft industry at the moment would you get that opportunity to be able to do that? And it's one of those things, whereas with being local, and I take pride in the fact with being local that God forbid if Sarah can't do it for whatever reason, do you know what I mean, if she's busy with all the work she's doing now or that, then I've done it a few times that then I can then just step in at a drop of a hat and help and do what's ever needed.
And if it did all end tomorrow, it's not ending tomorrow, but if it did all end tomorrow, would you go back to the co-op or would you head over to the US and become a wrestling referee? WrestleMania on the horizon.
Well, there's the question. I would definitely have to try and dabble in about getting in there with the wrestling referee.
You could easily do it
first.
with your wrestling knowledge, couldn't you?
I would have thought so.
Yeah.
I would have thought
like
so.
a colour commentator maybe on the wrestling.
Definitely not a commentator. Definitely couldn't do that. That is a talent. You've all known how many times I can mix up my words when I'm here.
Can you imagine?
Can you imagine being at WrestleMania in front of a 97,000 crowd and I'm getting my Scottish words mixed up? No, thank you. We'll stick to a referee.
Oh my goodness me! So, I can't believe the half an hour is up. I think we're gonna have to do a part 2 at some point, aren't we? Because I feel like we've only scratched the surface with you.
I think now that it's just opened it up in me, I'm kind of like, yeah, there's so much more to give. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like there's more that I know about Craig that we need to delve into over the course of future shows. But thank you so much. You enjoyed that?
I did. I absolutely loved that. That was really, really nice. And obviously, all of us on the team, it's lovely to have all the lovely comments. And all that I would just say as well, the way that the world is at the moment, enjoy craft and be nice to everyone. I know it's a cliche thing to say, but you know, we do it for the love, so let's just keep doing it.
That's it. There we go. What a show. Again, massive thank you to Craig. Thoroughly enjoyed that, and I think maybe further down the line we might have to come back to a part 2 with Craig. Thanks for now though. See you on the next Craft Story.
Craft story, craft story, craft story. Tell me about your life.